6 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
Take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Hail to the king, baby.
Welcome, one and all, to the world of stew. Hello and welcome to episode 57 of World of Stew, the show that is not only your one-stop shop for all your weekly geek needs, but it's also the show that thought that Brexit was the poo that you had after your first meal of the day. It is, of course, like I say, World of Stew, and I am your host, The Stew from World of Stew. But I'm rambling now, so let me introduce the man who is the Rocky to my Bullwinkle. It's Dave.
Yeah, and here I am. I'm still kind of. I guess that first birthday would just be full of vibrant goodness, wouldn't it?
It would, yes, absolutely. And that is literally the only mention we're going to make of the entire Brexit thing, because we don't do politics on this show.
We don't. We could, and if we did, we'd be going on for a little while, wouldn't we? But we're just going to drop that, because that's not what this is about today.
I did think we should start our own campaign called Gexit, which is us deciding whether we should vote ourselves in or out of the world of Geek. But then I thought, nah, I'm quite happy where I am, thanks.
Yeah, too true. I mean, I would say not too happy about something else, but hey, that's life. Right,
now, before we crack on with this week's superhero news, for continuity's sake, Dave, because we do have continuity, unlike the WWE, for instance, last week we had a Keanu Reeves challenge, right?
We did, yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to you letting me down in a minute, right? But the Keanu Reeves challenge was that I mentioned him in relation to bad acting of some nature, and you told me that I should watch the film John Wick, because you said that that is an example of not a particularly fantastic Keanu Reeves performance, but a passable one, right?
Yeah, I think it's a passable performance, and certainly action-wise, it's a good movie.
Okay, so I said, well, I refuse to watch any Keanu Reeves films after watching the, and I don't use this term lightly, abortion of a movie that is Knock Knock, okay? Which we discussed before, and I use that clip all the time of him going on about the girls offering themselves up and it being free pizza and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, we made a deal that you would watch Knock Knock and report back on it this week, and I would watch John Wick and report back on it this week. However, based on a text message conversation that we had less than 24 hours ago, I am going to assume you have not had the opportunity to watch Knock Knock.
I have not. Sadly, I've been working all weekend, and, for a series of late nights, early mornings, dropping kids off at school at like 2:30 in the morning, and then picking them up at 10 o'clock in the evening, and then sitting in an ice cream van, and from 9 o'clock till 7 o'clock, it's just like, yeah, it hasn't happened this weekend, and I feel very guilty for letting you down, but that's unfortunately what it is. I thought I had it on my laptop to watch as well, but it turns out I don't. So I have to find it somewhere else.
I have fulfilled my part of the bargain, okay? Right, and that's not criticising you for not doing it, because you've got another week now to try and find that film. And I've posted a review on our official website, which is silentmovieman.wix.com/World of Stew, about this film, John Wick. Now, as I watched this film, Dave, and maybe it's my bias shining through, but I watched it and I thought, I'm not quite sure what Dave sees in this film, if I'm being honest.
Okay, so I'm going to say, I've said a bit about it already, obviously, when we mentioned it, but I think action-wise, it's awesome. It's a simple revenge story.
Can I pull you up on that there, Dave? Right?
Okay.
Because at its core, this film is about a man going on a murderous rampage over the death of a puppy which he has had about 2 days.
Yeah, but as he okay, spoiler alert, but as he mentions later on in the film, it's also what that puppy represented to him. He's really still grief-stricken over his wife and the life he's lost. So when this world comes knocking at his door again, this dark world of gangsters and assassins and hitmen, he's like, okay, you're going to drag me back in, I'm going to come back in, and I'm going to kill you all. That's kind of how he's feeling, I think.
But to me, it was just really dumb that this dude was basically going apeshit, for want of a better phrase, over the death of a puppy, regardless of who gave him the puppy. You know, he didn't even want the blooming puppy, right? But it was thrust upon him by his dying wife, so he kind of felt guilty and decided he had to keep it. He has it 2 days, someone breaks in, steals his car. Right, now I'm not sure whether he's more concerned about the puppy or the car, to be honest, but he goes on a rampage and kills tens, if not 100 people in this film.
Oh, easily tens, possibly even getting onto 100, but yeah, a lot of people.
Right, and you bang on about the action sequences there. They're not bad, right, don't get me wrong, but they just feel played out and done, and I've seen them done in those scenarios in a nightclub and in the house and all the rest of it better elsewhere.
I thought these were still pretty awesome fight scenes. I mean, some of them were pretty visceral. I felt not like an incredibly clean, crisp ballet-like fight. I mean, we've seen him do the kind of ballet-like kung fu in Matrix Revolutions and Matrix Reloaded, which I still don't think that was the best idea for those movies. It just wasn't visceral and violent enough for those fights. But this did feel a bit, what's the word? A bit more violent, a bit more, just a bit more full of action. How it maybe should be in those kind of films.
Plus, Mr. Reeves is still so wooden he could be carried to the ring by Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
He is, and I love the reference there, but that's just Keanu, you know. I don't think we're ever going to get a really emotive performance from him, you know. He's never been the kind of actor who can stand there and give a heartfelt performance. He's clearly just not got that verbal range, you know. So when he can do the action stuff, he can do the great action stuff. It's a bit like watching a Tom Cruise movie. You know, Tom Cruise is great at the action. He's great at that kind of stuff. He's great at acting like Ethan Hunt in every Mission Impossible film. But he doesn't really do emotional stuff, let's be honest.
Speaking of bad actors, I saw the other day in an interview, Nicolas Cage mentioned his 4 greatest performances in his opinion. Now,
this would be interesting.
One of them was Leaving Las Vegas. Okay, I'll give him that. Right, because I think that was the film he won an Oscar for, was it?
Yeah, he did win the Oscar for that one. I feel it was actually well deserved that year.
Okay,
What's gone on with the rest of his career, I'm not sure.
Another one of the films that he had listed, and I can't remember what the other 2 were, but one was Leaving Las Vegas, and the other one was the Bad Lieutenant remake.
I haven't seen that, if I'm honest, but I've heard it's pretty awful.
So, quite what he was smoking when he did that interview, allegedly, I don't know, but I just thought I'd throw that in.
Well, haven't like 80% of his films in the last 15 years been remakes?
He has been in an awful lot of remakes or reboots, all of which have been shite.
It's just, I don't understand it, you know, Wicker Man, Bad Lieutenant, Bangkok Dangerous, what's going on?
Yeah, well, it's just Nicolas Cage. The man is a conundrum wrapped inside an enigma, all sort of eaten by a riddle.
Eaten by a riddle, let's hope it stays that way.
How does he get work? We just don't know. So, back to John Wick, I would give it probably 5.5 to 6 out of 10.
Okay, I'd have to disagree with that. Maybe it's just a taste thing, but I kind of found the whole thing quite stylish and quite easily watchable. And I'd never give it. I'd never say it was a quality movie, a classy movie. It is what it is. It's like I've got a liking for these simple revenge films that do it really well. So if I watch Taken's a simple movie. Guy's daughter gets kidnapped. He goes to get the daughter back. Violence ensues. I just like those kind of movies.
So that aside, I think it's time for this week's superhero news. Now, the vast majority of the superhero news this week, Dave, is taken up by the Justice League.
I thought it might be for some reason.
Because there was just loads and loads and loads of information that was put out about this. So I've broken it down into bullet points. We'll go through them individually and you can tell me what you think.
Okay, good.
So first up, apparently Superman will not feature heavily, as the film is basically about Batman's formation of the Justice League, based on Superman's selfless act in Dawn of Justice. I'm right behind that because basically Henry Cavill as Superman is rubbish anyway.
He is, but I'm sure he was in the pictures in some way.
Yeah, he'll be in it towards the end, I would imagine.
Yeah, I imagine he's going to come back and save the day or that kind of thing. I'm not sure how I feel about them doing the Return of Superman so quickly. I said it when we were talking about Dawn of Justice. It just feels like they've blown their wad already.
I think Zach Synders got like ADD.
He has, hasn't he? It's kind of this whole Justice League preview and kind of giving us all these little details already does kind of feel like them kind of going, whoops, we did a bit much there, didn't we? Right, we're slowing down a bit and we're going to take a step back. Here's what the Justice League is going to be like. So maybe they did mess up. Maybe they know they messed up.
Now, speaking of bad actors and tying back into John Wick, because this particular bad actor was in that film as well, Willem Dafoe, right, who basically has two modes of acting. He's either quiet crazy or loud crazy, and both of them aren't particularly great.
Yeah, it quite saddens me because Willem Dafoe is a good actor. I mean, if I harken back to it's a long time ago now, but Platoon, for example, he's a good actor. But just lately, in the last 15 years, he's just been crazy.
Well, anyway, his character apparently has been revealed to be Atlantean Nuidis Vulko, who is the on-again, off-again Confederate of Aquaman. Apparently, he first appeared in the 1960s. He later died, but appeared as a ghost until the whole thing was retconned, as they do in comic books. He would at one point betray Atlantis, but eventually gained vindication by helping Aquaman fight the Dead King.
Okay, so I'm just wondering how much we're going to have him in this movie. Is it just going to be an introduction to his character, and then you see him more in an Aquaman movie? Or is it just you're going to see him? Is it going to be a proper role within this movie? Because it sounds like this film has got an awful lot to do with a lot of characters.
Speaking of a lot of characters, Dave, apparently the main villain is not going to be Darkseid.
Okay, so they're saving Darkseid for another movie, yeah?
Yeah, basically we all thought it was going to be Darkseid following the events of Batfleck vs Supergirl, right? Because we had the whole Amiga sign and all the rest of it. Well, it will, in fact, the main villain in the film will be Darkseid's uncle, Steppenwolf, not to be confused with the band. This was first teased in the Dawn of Justice deleted scene, Communion. Now, who the hell gives titles to their deleted scenes?
Yeah, not to mention it, but who puts one of the most important scenes of the franchise, which this is what it has to be, it's a franchise, who puts that important scene as a deleted scene? From what I hear, that was one of the most important scenes, kind of tying together what Lex Luthor was up to.
It was, yeah, because it had Lex Luthor talking to Steppenwolf.
Exactly, surely that's the moment at the end of Avengers where you see Thanos, right? that's the moment where you go, oh, hey! You know, that's the moment for casual fans to go, who the hell's that? Oh, I see, it's this guy. And that's the moment for hardcore fans to go, whoa, they're doing this next, brilliant! And it could have had such an effect over that scene in the movie.
See, now I think it's quite sensible of DC to drop Darkseid being the villain in this film, because Justice League is going to be out sort of around about the same sort of time frame as Avengers 4. Avengers 4, yeah?
Right.
Is it Avengers 4 or is it
Avengers 3?
It's going to be out about the same time as Avengers 3, right? And of course, Thanos is going to be the big bad in Avengers 3 and Avengers 4. So they don't really want Darkseid on screen at the same time, because basically the characters are identical.
They are really similar, aren't they? I mean, apart from, I'm not 100% familiar with Darkseid, but Darkseid doesn't have anything similar to the Infinity Gauntlet, does he?
I don't think he does, but it's basically just to say they are very, very similar characters. I can't remember which one was introduced first, but whichever one it was, the other company has basically ripped them off.
Yeah, Marvel does that quite a bit sometimes. They've got a lot of characters very similar to DC, but obviously the Marvel fanboy in me would just say, well, it's just Marvel do them better.
Apparently all future films in the DCEU will be lighter in tone than Dawn of Justice after the backlash that particular movie got.
Well, it couldn't be much bloody darker, could they?
No.
I mean, you know, you make a big deal of Man of Steel of, oh, it's not an S, it means hope. It's like, oh, give us some bloody hope then, you wooden frog.
A wooden frog? What sort of insult is wooden frog?
Oh, I don't know, it just came out. I don't know what I call him, a frog. He's just like, he's you know, but it's just, that's what I felt about Superman, you know, he's not my Superman. I don't recognise him as being Superman, and don't recognise Clark Kent as being Clark Kent, because to me, the Brandon Routh Superman, the Christopher Reeve Superman, they're both so light and full of hope and good that it's like, well, they're just that shining beacon, they're that icon, and surely that's what DC need. I mean, Captain America has been that in all the Captain America movies. Marvel have turned Captain America, which has never been a particularly popular character, into one of their movie universe's greatest characters, I would dare say.
All I'm going to say is I'm taking wooden frog as an insult and using that forever now.
Okay, wooden frog it is.
Yeah, there's going to be a t-shirt in that, I'm pretty sure.
Fair enough, we can find it.
Right, now the synopsis of the movie, Dave, goes as follows. Fueled by his restored faith in humanity and inspired by Superman's selfless act, Bruce Wayne enlists the help of his newfound ally Diana Prince to face an even greater enemy. Together, Batman and Wonder Woman work quickly to find and recruit a team of metahumans to stand against this newly awakened threat. But despite the formation of this unprecedented League of Heroes, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Cyborg and the Flash, it may already be too late to save the planet from an assault of catastrophic proportions.
Okay, so what you're saying there is it doesn't matter how many really tough humans you got, you need the badass Man of Steel, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm guessing he's going to show up at the end and save them. Did I do the synopsis justice then, by the way? No pun intended.
I think so, yeah. I mean, this is one of the problems with Superman, though, isn't it? He's just overpowered, unfortunately.
Yeah. So that's the synopsis of the film, but, you know, we'll wait and see when it comes out. Now, Batman is going to be more like the world's greatest detective than he was in Dawn of Justice. This isn't hard when you consider the fact that in Dawn of Justice he seemingly had no clue that he was being played for a mug by Lex Luthor.
Yeah, very true. What kind of Batman do you feel he was in Dawn of Justice? Was he the Caped Crusader? Was he the Dark Knight?
Well, he wasn't a very good detective, was he?
Yeah, certainly not. He wasn't really a crusader against crime. I mean, I liked it. I liked the Batman of Dawn of Justice. I'd like to see a whole movie of Ben Affleck as Batman, to be honest, which is going to happen at some point. But yeah, you wouldn't have to go very far, to make him a better detective, would you?
Now, apparently, Justice League is going to be a standalone movie in one part, and not the two-part film that we thought we were going to get.
Okay, so yeah, I think we do need. I'd agree there. I think we need a standalone film. They need some kind of film to bring these characters together, because we haven't. Wonder Woman's getting her own movie. Is it later this year or next year?
No idea. I wouldn't imagine it'll be this year. It'll be next year.
Yeah, because we've seen the first trailer already, so I wouldn't be surprised if. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's next year, early next year. So, apart from we're going to have had a Wonder Woman movie and a Superman movie, but none of these characters have been seen in the movie yet. So we need a movie to get all these characters together, right?
Don't you think it's an awful lot to try and fit into one film, though, unless they're going to make it 6 hours long?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if they did make it ridiculously long. Let's face it, Dawn of Justice was, how long was it? 2.5, 3 hours?
2.5 without the director's additions.
Yeah, even, was it Avengers Assemble? All these characters had already been established, and yet they struggled to bring them all together in a realistic way. Unless you're just going to have Batman flying around the world going, "Hey, I'm Batman, come and join me." I feel like I want more of an introduction to these characters to feel like I care about them.
Like maybe do their solo movies first.
As if that would work. What do you want?
And finally, director Zach Synders has admitted that he was caught off guard by the reaction to Batfleck vs Supervillain and had to make an adjustment when it came to filming Justice League. He claims that Justice League gives him the opportunity to blow the doors off the scale and that he can justify a big modern comic book movie. Which doesn't sound great.
Do you know what? That just makes me so annoyed. It's like, you made Batman vs Superman. That's the biggest opportunity for a superhero movie anyone's ever had. And you weren't happy with that. You had to put the death of Superman in the same bloody film. WTF? It's like, and you think, oh yeah, I've got an opportunity now to justify what I'm doing. It's like, get a clue. I mean, Zack Snyder can make really good action movies. I love Watchmen. I love his Dawn of the Dead movie. I really liked that. He's made some really good films, but what he did, it was just one of the biggest wasted opportunities with Batman vs Superman.
So that was all the news that was released this week about the Justice League movie. Just a couple of small other stories about superhero things. First up, it appears that Michael Mando, who is best known for his role in Better Call Saul, may be playing Spider-Man Homecoming's fourth villain in the form of Carnage.
Oh, I'm not sure how I feel about that.
4 villains in one film, bearing in mind that everyone thought that the 2.5 villains that we had in Spider-Man 3 were too much.
It was, Carnage in a movie?
Before Venom?
Yeah, before Venom. I don't know, maybe if they just... Isn't Carnage, wasn't he originally some kind of serial killer who also got possessed by part of the symbiote? So if they could just have the serial killer in it as a hint to the next movie, that might be okay, but yeah, 4 villains is too much for a Spider-Man movie.
And finally, and I'm only including this, well, they are technically heroes. I'm including this story because I just thought it was really funny. You know the new Power Rangers movie that's coming out?
Yes, I do.
Right, now, do you remember the original Power Rangers TV show and the guy who was sort of in charge of the Power Rangers in the blue tube? He was like the floating head.
It's been a long time since I watched it. I even confessed to actually watching the very first Power Rangers movie.
Well, anyway, his name was Zordon, right? And Zordon was an interdimensional being that was trapped in a time warp. Apparently 10,000 years ago, he beat Rita Repulsa and trapped her in a dumpster on the moon. He has an assistant in the form of a robot. Do you remember the little robot?
No.
Called Alpha. Now, the reason why I mention this is because do you know who's cast as Zordon in the new Power Rangers movie?
No, who is it?
Bryan Cranston.
Okay. Well, you know what? He's always struck me as clearly he's been a really good actor for the last 5-10 years or so. But he struck me as kind of a fun guy as well.
I think he should play this role like Hal from Malcolm in the Middle.
That'd be awesome, wouldn't it?
That would be great. I just wanted to put that in there because Bryan Cranston's great, and I used to love the original Power Rangers purely for Kimberly, the Pink Ranger.
Yeah, just remembered her, yeah. I mean, the Power Rangers are a bit of an acquired taste, aren't they? So, I think we'll have to see what happens in the movie, and I'd be really surprised, and it'd be quite cool if it was a really good movie, don't you think?
Oh, well, we'll wait and see, but Kimberly in Power Rangers was like Lisa in Saved by the Bell.
Lisa by Saved by the Bell.
You have no idea what I'm talking about now, do you?
I remember Saved by the Bell, but I don't remember any specific character.
I bet the only person you remember from Saved by the Bell is Elizabeth Berkley, and that's only because she was in Showgirls.
I think you'd be absolutely right there, and of course I remember Screech as well, because he was cool.
Yeah, and he's also made a couple of porn films.
I haven't seen any of those.
No, neither have I.
I'm
And
going to
that,
go googling those.
yeah, that wraps up this week's superhero news. Now, Dave, it is an absolutely bumper load of vanilla movie news that we got to get through. But before we get to that, I just wanted to mention a quick bit of WWE news. If you saw this, the big news in the past week or so.
Yeah, I've seen the big news in the past week, and it kind of doesn't it revolve around someone's mysterious absence from the TV shows?
It does indeed. Now, everybody's favourite wrestler to hate, despite the fact he's being pushed down our throats as the biggest babyface since Hulk Hogan, is of course Roman Reigns, who has been suspended for his first violation of the WWE's wellness policy. A lot of rumours are that, I don't know if you remember, but back in March he took some time off to have some surgery done on his nose, and they did a storyline where Triple H supposedly broke his nose so that they could give him some time off. Now, the rumour was that he was having is it septum, the middle part of your nose?
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, he was having that fixed because he likes to partake in the old white powder up the nose, if you get what I mean. Allegedly, yeah. I should say. I'm not saying he does, I'm just saying this was a report at the time.
Okay, yeah, I didn't hear that at the time, but yeah.
So that might tie in with his wellness violation.
Well, it is supposedly a violation over a banned substance, isn't it?
Now, the thing is, right, he was the champion. He then lost the belt at Money in the Bank when he got beat by Seth Rollins, and then Seth Rollins was immediately cashed in on by Dean Ambrose. So quite why they couldn't have just done Dean Ambrose cashing in on Roman Reigns. I guess they didn't want two faces fighting each other. So the next night he had a match with Seth Rollins to see who would be the number one contender for the title at Battleground, right?
Okay.
And that went to a double count out, so it meant that both Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns are now facing Dean Ambrose at Battleground. So we're getting the Shield triple threat that everyone wanted, except everyone wanted at WrestleMania, but they're now rushing it for Battleground because I think they're probably going to do some sort of hokey finish where they split the titles again.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And if I'm honest, this should be a SummerSlam. This should be a SummerSlam or a WrestleMania. The Shield have been these three wrestlers have been so dominant in the last couple of years that it's just a shame to waste this main event.
But the thing is, right, Dave, okay, the WWE knew that Roman Reigns had failed this drugs test before the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, right?
Okay. So
he then lost the title, which was probably punishment for the fact that he failed this test. So then, rather than writing him out of TV, they could do something like where he storms off because he's sick of being mistreated, or he hates the fans, or he gets beat up backstage, they continue to put him in a match where he could potentially be the #1 contender. Not only do they not have him lose that match, they have it in a double count out, and he's still being advertised as being in the triple threat at Battleground. So what does that say to anybody else in the back, right, who's busting their ass trying to break through that glass ceiling, when somebody who's at the top of the card does something like that and is basically not punished at all?
Okay, well, if I see the flip side of this, he's got a 30-day suspension, right? And no doubt he's not going to be paid for those 30 days because it's a suspension.
But he's not going to be broke for those 30 days, is he? He's at the top end of the card.
Yeah, absolutely. He's not going to be broke, but I feel it is quite a punishment to be... I mean, he was beaten clean in the middle of the ring, right? By Seth Rollins.
Right.
So, we've talked about his poor booking recently, and when we talked about him being pinned in Money in the Bank, I was quite surprised that he'd been portrayed. They're pushing him as a big good guy that's supposed to be beaten clean in the ring by the company's biggest heel, right? So, I don't know. Are they still 100% behind his character?
Well, it would be interesting to see what happens at Background. If he comes back and just wins the title, then I think I might actually be done.
Yeah, it's...
And I know I've said that before, but I think I might actually be done.
Well, either way, I think they're still 100% behind Seth Rollins as being the big heel. I think Dean Ambrose, maybe he's gotten a bit of recognition finally for being one of their most solid workers in the last couple of years. And I think you're right. It's going to come to a hokey finish, and they're going to split the title in some way. I don't know. They're both going to pin Roman Reigns at the same time, or something. I don't know.
But anyway, I just wanted to cover that bit of news. So let's move away from the world of drugs and professional wrestling and go on to this week's vanilla movie news.
Oh, can I just say something else about Roman Reigns before we go away?
Go on then.
I feel like it's a bit of a shame as well, because however me and you feel about Roman Reigns, however we feel about John Cena, I see the kids in schools that idolise Roman Reigns, and they're the same kind of wrestling fans who idolise John Cena as well. Okay, they're just little kids. They don't know any better, right? as far as wrestling fans are concerned. It's a shame that such a character like this, such a guy like this, I think it's a bit of a shame that he should disappoint and let down fans in this way. Because at the end of the day, he's still kind of a role model. If any wrestler is a role model, it's someone like him. If this was a lower tier wrestler who wasn't so high in the card, if it was Zack Snyder, I'd be like...
Zack Snyder?
If it was Dolph Ziggler, sorry, or Zack Ryder.
No, yeah, Zack Ryder, that's better. Zack Snyder, in between filming like DCEU movies, he's going out and popping a moonsault.
Well, who knows? It might explain a few things. But if it was a wrestler lower down, less important to the company, I'd be like, okay, look, it's no big surprise, whatever. But he's in the position, okay? He's the big guy. He said it himself. He might not be. He's the guy, okay? So he's got a responsibility to the fans and the company to be that guy. And anytime they've had someone like that, say CM Punk, who's like, I don't take anything. I don't drink, I don't smoke, whatever. They've been like, oh yeah, look, let's make fun of him. But now they've got a good guy. He's supposed to be, he should be clean cut. John Cena is clean cut, and love him or hate him, I've never seen him be banned for using substances. Okay, so I'm just saying, it's a bit of a shame, and I think he's let down a lot of the fans in that way.
Right, Dave, get off your soapbox now.
Okay.
From the furthest reaches of the Geek universe, It's the world of Stew News.
On to this week's movie news, and first up we have a couple of Star Wars stories. First up, James Earl Jones has confirmed that he will indeed voice Darth Vader in Star Wars Rogue One. In the movie, Vader is set to play the muscle for the Empire who keeps everybody in line.
Awesome.
James Earl Jones is 85, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah, speaking of actors and their ages, just as a quick aside, I couldn't believe when I read the other day that Danny Trejo is in his 70s.
That is unbelievable, isn't it? I would have never guessed that Danny Trejo was that old.
And I would never say it to his face, because he would kill me!
Yeah, he's a crazy dude.
Yeah. And in another Star Wars story, Mark Hamill has got the internet buzzing, because he was doing an interview with Ray Davis of the Kinks, because apparently Mark Hamill really loves the Kinks, and he made the following comment. I finish episode 8 and then I'm out of work. Now, does this mean that he's just out of work until the next film? Or does it mean he's out of work because Luke Skywalker is going to get got in episode 8?
Ooh, that is interesting, isn't it? Okay, well, you know, maybe he's just not needed for episode 9. I mean, they built up a pretty good cast of new characters already. They've got rid of one.
Could the hardcore fans really cope with losing Skywalker after losing Solo?
Oh, come on. He wasn't even really in the last movie either. And how much could you really have him? I mean, with all respect to Mark Hamill, he's a great voice actor. He was great in the original movies, but this is a new generation now. He's just not up to... I don't think he's up to the kind of pace that the new movies need.
Well, we'll find out when he has fight scenes in the next film. Now, it pains me to do it, Dave, but you know where we're going now, don't you?
Oh, no, we're not going to the movie that shall not be named, are we?
We are going back to Ghostbusters again, right? Because, you know, I said last week when we were talking about it that there'd been, I think it was 9 TV spots at the time.
Yeah, that's an awful lot of spots.
Yeah, well, there's now been 18.
18?
18 TV spots, right?
Why don't we just show the whole movie?
Yeah.
Seriously.
And do you remember when we did the breakdown of the leaked plot of the film, and we said that most of it looked like that was what was going to happen?
Yeah.
Now, there was one part in that leaked plot that I read, and I just went, no. Even if the rest of it's right, that's wrong. That can't be right, because that would be terrible. And the part I'm talking about is when they're at the rock concert and they're going to fight the green ghost dragon. There's a bit where Leslie Jones's character Patty, the black lady, she is walking through the place on her own, and she's chased by a possessed mannequin, and she utters the line, "This is more intense than an Usher concert," right?
Right.
Now, I thought that can't, because that sounds awful, doesn't it? So that cannot possibly be in the film, yeah?
Absolutely.
Well, in one of the new TV spots, they actually show the mannequin chasing her down a corridor.
Yes, I did see that bit, actually.
I'm at a loss as to what else I can say about this film.
Right, I did see I think it was in that TV spot as well, the part where they're squashed by the giant Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Yeah, I told you about that last week, didn't I?
Yeah, and it's that you get a camera angle from underneath the ground, with the ground being...
like clear perspex.
Yeah, as I'm going to go, this is so wrong! It's like, yeah, it is. It is. So why is it in the movie? Mannequins can be really scary in movies. They can be. But, I still say I'm going to see this film. Okay? I'm going to see this film. I'm going to take one for the team. Because I kind of feel like I have to watch it to justify how much I already dislike it and the idea. I'm going to go in. I'd love to be pleasantly surprised. I'd love to watch it and think, you know what, that's all right.
It's not going to happen, is it? Let's be honest.
No, it's not going to happen. And I'm going to try and remain as impartial as I can, but from what I've seen so far, this movie is making me think it's going to leave a giant stinking memory in my brain forever.
I was watching a video on YouTube a couple of weeks ago, and it was somebody had pulled together a load of comments from YouTube or on Twitter that people had made about the first couple of trailers of the film.
Okay.
And one of them, and I don't think it's funny in terms of the content of the message, it's just funny in that it's made this one person so angry that they felt they needed to say this. They said, "This movie deserves the Aurora Theatre treatment."
The what treatment?
The Aurora Theatre treatment.
What's that?
The Aurora Theatre is the theatre where the dude went in and started shooting people up for the screening of Batman in America.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Ouch.
yeah. And another person compared it to the Nazis and concentration camps.
You know what? I really don't like this movie, but it's a in terms of scales of evil, it's quite a bit below genocide, I'd have to say.
Now, do you remember when Paul Feig basically said that geeks were all assholes?
Yes, I do.
Right. Well, Sony Pictures chairman Tim Rothman has been talking about the negativity surrounding the Ghostbusters film, and he said it's the greatest thing that ever happened. Are you kidding me? We're in the national debate. Thank you. Can you please get some more haters to say stupid things? He also claims that you can feel the cultural excitement around this film.
What planet is he living on?
I don't know. And speaking of people living on planets far away, apparently reports are stating that Ghostbusters could track anywhere between 40 and 50 million in its opening weekend in America.
You know what? I'd be surprised, even if it does do that. What's it going to do the week after?
Now, finally, in this week's Ghostbusters Hate, have you heard the new theme song?
I'm not sure I want to.
Have you, though?
I have not.
Right, do you know who the new theme song is by?
Oh, yeah, this could be bad. Who's it by?
It is by Fall Out Boy, featuring Missy Elliott.
What?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a mix. That's a bad mix.
Right, now, I have a 30-second clip of it for you here, Dave. Okay? So I'm going to play it for you, and then you can give me your feelings, okay?
Okay. I just want to cry.
That's great, isn't it?
What was wrong with the original?
The original was actually features on the soundtrack of this film.
But that's just bad as well. You still have to say, the original Ghostbusters song is classic, still works today, and it's just, if they could come up with something new, you're like, hey, this is brilliant. I'd be like, great, but this is just rubbish.
Well, do you know what, right? Do you know what that song does?
What does it do?
It makes you appreciate the Bobby Brown theme song from Ghostbusters 2 even more.
Yeah, you're right there. I mean, never thought we'd say that, but what can you say about this movie? Is there some part of this movie that they've actually got right?
I don't think they have, no.
Okay, I'm going to be searching for that in this movie, okay? I'm going to be searching for something they've done right, okay? That's my official challenge.
Right, now, moving away from Ghostbusters and onto another franchise that really should die a horrible death and never make another film. Transformers have revealed that the new Autobot is going to be a moped called Squeaks. Squeaks? Yes.
Okay. You know what? I did actually watch Transformers Age of Extinction on a weekend. Not 100% out of choice. One of the kids found it on Netflix and decided to put it on. Obviously, other just as great TV providers are out there, but there's so much that's wrong about the movie, just so much that is just so average. A dialed-in performance from Mark Wahlberg, he's capable of so much better. The Transformers, why are there so many racist stereotypes in the Transformer robots?
Well, the most telling thing you can say about the Transformers franchise is the fact that there's been, 4 films so far, and I couldn't tell you the plot of any of them.
I sadly could, but it's just Optimus Prime fights all the other robots again. Bumblebee gets a little bit of a role again. But the sad fact is, well, that if they just stopped the most recent one, I'd be like, okay, that's the Transformers movie's done for a while. Let's wait a couple of years and then we'll have another reboot or something like that. But they just keep on making more and more money, which is just strange. I don't understand it. And
while we're on the topic of franchises that should die, apparently Indiana Jones 5 is going to be a requel.
Requel?
Yeah.
What's a requel?
It's a rebooting sequel.
What?
Yeah. According to Disney CEO Robert Iger, it will also not be the last film in the series.
That's a kind of given, isn't it, if it's a rebooting sequel? But what are you suggesting there? Are you suggesting there's going to be a new Indiana Jones?
Well, Harrison Ford's already said that this film's going to be his last, hasn't he?
Yeah. So, I'm still confused as to what a rebooting sequel is.
Well, go and Google it and you'll find out.
Okay, I'll have a look.
A game based on Independence Day resurgence is causing controversy for the way certain monuments and locations are destroyed. Independence Day My Street uses a combination of Google Maps and special effects to allow you to enter an address and see it destroyed by aliens. However, as you can put in addresses such as One World Trade Center and Brussels Airport, many are claiming that it's in bad taste.
You know what? It's aliens, it's Independence Day. I think it's a bit silly for people to get so fussed about it. Unless you're just going to edit something into the game where you take out anywhere where atrocities have happened, where terrorist attacks have happened, or mass killings. Haven't we got bigger problems to worry about in the world?
Well, we have, but people like to get on their high horses, don't they?
They do, don't they?
And that brings us to the end of this week's movie news.
From the furthest reaches of the Geek universe, it's the World of Stew News.
So, it is now time, Dave, for this week's Top 10, which, as we said last week, is the top 10 video games of all time, which I should point out is the World of Stew top 10 video games of all time. So these are 5 of mine and 5 of yours. They're not in any particular order, they're just 10 through to 1 so that we can do countdown over countdown music. And here we go.
There's something curious about this broadcast.
In at number 10, it's the first of mine. It is Mortal Kombat, which was released in 1992 by Midway Games in arcades before being ported to all home consoles. The game has spawned multiple sequels, several films, both animated and live action, comic books, and of course a live action tour. Now for me, the thing that set this game apart, and I don't know if you agree, Dave, is the level of violence and blood that you got in these games.
Absolutely, I think this was kind of a first at the time. It was very different from any other game at the time because every other game had kind of cartoony graphics, I suppose you could say, whereas this had photos of the characters in the game, didn't it?
It did. It was actually lauded for its realistic characters as opposed to the more cartoony graphics, as you said. This film also was the first to sort of have actual kills in it.
Yeah, it did. There were some pretty gruesome kills, weren't there?
The fatalities and stuff, although you had to be an absolute gaming master to pull them off.
Yeah, I could never pull them off. I have to say, at the time, I was much more of a fan of Street Fighter 2. Particularly, I was just the same as Street Fighter 2. I could never pull off any of the really fancy moves, so I was only more of a fan of Street Fighter 2 because I was better at it, and I always got absolutely thrashed in Mortal Kombat.
In fact, Mortal Kombat was so gruesome that it was an actual major player in the creation of the ESRB video game rating system.
It was, wasn't it? There was quite a bit of fuss from the moral media at the time about violent video games.
There was indeed. So in at number 9, Dave.
In at number 9 is my first one, and you know what? I felt like I actually had to put this in, even though I've never really played it.
Okay.
So this is Minecraft. Alright?
Okay.
Okay, now, the simple fact is, I've never played this game. And you don't want me to play this game? My kids don't want me to play this game. Because if I played it, I would take it over, alright? The fact is, released in 2009, it's across all different formats now. You can play on PC, you can play on phones, you can play on tablets, you can play on Xbox, you can play on PlayStation. I might be mistaken, I don't think you can play it on Nintendo yet, can you?
You can, yes, on the Wii U.
Oh, you can, okay, I am mistaken.
In fact, not only can you play it on the Wii U, but there's also exclusive Mario Brothers content.
No, I had no idea, that actually sounds really cool. But either way, yeah, the simple open world sandbox play of this game has just attracted so many millions of people across the world. The fact that I look at this game and some of it is so complicated, I just don't know what to make of it. But I admire the simplicity of this game, that you can make almost anything. The fact that teachers have been able to use it in schools to show how to make electrical circuits and roller coasters. It's just one of the most amazing games in the world, and even describing it as a game, I think, is a bit simplistic. Would you agree?
Okay, well, I have no comment on Minecraft because I've never played it, but...
Okay. But I feel on behalf of my kids, and kids all around the world, I have to put this game in. It's the simple success of the fact that it released in 2009, and it's just going on and on and on.
In at number 8 we have Batman Arkham Asylum. It was the first part of a trilogy of games by Rocksteady Studios, and Arkham Asylum was released across all platforms in 2009. The story was written by veteran Batman writer Paul Dini, and saw the Dark Knight have to fight his way through his biggest foes to get to the Joker. The game saw the lead characters voiced by Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill from the Batman animated series, and it is in the Guinness Book of Records as the most critically acclaimed superhero game ever. You play the game in the third person as the Cape Crusader, and it is genuinely like living in a comic book.
It is. I mean, I played this game. I can't remember how far I got in this game, but I played it, and I was just blown away by how awesome it was and what an incredible version of Batman this was. It just goes to show what you can do with a superhero game, and I do feel it's a shame that there's not many other video games of superheroes like this, despite the success. When you simply agree, despite the success in the cinema of the Avengers, of Ant-Man, of Thor, Captain America, Superman, Batman is the only one to have successful games.
Yeah, the one downside to Arkham Asylum for me though was how easy it was to beat the Joker in the final battle.
Yeah, surely that's just a symptom of the fact that actually physically the Joker isn't any contest for Batman.
Yeah, but he's all pumped up on Titan, isn't he? He's massive at the end of that game. And you go through all these difficult challenges of fighting Killer Croc and Bane. And then you get to the final Joker battle and it's just... You could practically do it with your eyes closed.
Really? Is it that easy?
Yeah.
Oh, you know, I never realised it was so easy. I think I remember the kids telling me how they got to the end and they beat it. But how many sequels have this game actually spawned now?
Yeah, well, there's been 3 sequels, but only 2 by the same studio, Rocksteady. There was another one that wasn't part of the franchise, so to speak, so I didn't count that.
Ah, right, okay.
So in at number 7.
In at number 7 is Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Now, I thought quite carefully about which Call of Duty to put in this list. I felt like I had to put at least one Call of Duty in, because these games are pretty much all I've played in the last couple of years. Yeah, partially based on time. But it came down to Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, the sequel to one of the best first-person shooters of all time. This game sees you take on the adventures again of Captain Soap McTavish as you fight terrorism around the world. You deal with the invasion of the United States of America by Russia. Some of the levels in this game are just brutally violent. This game also, as well as countless missions all around the world, as well as attacking an oil platform, taking a very controversial mission where you take on the role of a terrorist who's actually an undercover CIA operative and gun down a whole airport full of people. There's just such a variety of missions. Then you've got special ops on top of that, where you can take on challenges outside of the normal gameplay. And then, of course, there's the online multiplayer, which I felt is still one of the best first-person shooter online multiplayers available on console. Obviously, PC gamers will tell me there's much better ones, but for easy's sake, on console, the multiplayer in this game was awesome.
No, I've never been into first-person shooters. I just couldn't get into them.
They are very difficult to play, especially when you're playing in a game with up to 15 other people from around the world, and most of them are really good. It is a bit like, as we've discussed, me and you get very sick of being beaten by 12-year-olds by playing FIFA or playing John Madden, or I've tried playing wrestling online with people as well, but I just get tired of being beaten around the ring for 10 minutes before being pinned. It's just sickening.
So, in at number 6 we have Mario Kart 64. Now this is the second Mario Kart game after the SNES Super Mario Kart, with Mario Kart 64 hitting stores in 1996 on what is for me still the world's greatest ever video games console, the Nintendo 64. In Mario Kart 64 we are delivered polygon-based true 3D graphics, and a 4-player option is introduced. To date there have been 5 Mario Kart releases for home consoles, as well as arcade versions and handheld ones too. The latest is Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U, but for me Mario Kart 64 is still the best. The reason why I love this game is because it was the first Mario Kart game I played, and even with today's awesome graphics, Mario Kart 64's Rainbow Road is still the best Mario Kart track.
Yeah, I'd have to go with you. In terms of playability, I don't think the Mario Kart games have really made any progress in recent years. But I think the first Mario Kart I played was on the Super Nintendo. But the Mario Kart on the 64 was also amazingly awesome. For me, the fact that it was quite a few years between me playing on the Super Nintendo and then playing on Nintendo 64, and I just picked up the pad and carried straight on. It was like there hadn't been any separation. The playability was just that simple.
Plus, of course, the 64 version had 4 players.
4 players, yeah. The 4-player split screen was just amazing. There's nothing quite like playing a multiplayer game with 4 players with everyone in the same room. I'd say all this online gaming is all very well, and I love it. I appreciate it. But there's nothing quite like playing it with everyone in the same room, is there?
No, absolutely. Because you can punch each other and have real-time arguments.
Yeah, I had a fair few of those in my time, believe me.
So, in at number 5.
In at number 5 is The Secret of Mana. Now, I've gone way back old school here for the Super Nintendo, or the SNES, as I used to put it. Now, this was released in 1993, originally, by Square Enix, the people who have become famous for their Final Fantasy games. Now, this was... Have you ever heard of this game, Stu?
I can honestly say I have not.
Now, I have fantastic memories of this game. Playing it in my best friend's attic bedroom. We played it for what seemed like weeks and weeks and weeks. It was a very simple role-playing game with a kind of top-down view where first, the main player would take control of a young boy. I don't think the young boy was actually named in the original. I think you could actually choose the name of the character yourself. There's quite an epic story involving an evil prince called Thanatos, very similar to Thanos, obviously. Basically, it's a whole magical adventure. Then there's another character who's a prince, who's kind of a princess, girly character who you take control of as well. And then you meet another character who's a sprite, who looked a bit like a mushroom, as far as I remember. And then I believe you meet another character who's a bit like a dwarf. Now, as we've discussed before, this was a role-playing game. You wander through worlds, killing monsters, but you level up as well. You gradually become better with a spear or with a sword. You can choose which weapon your character is leveling up with, whether it's a sword, a spear, or a hammer. And all their special attacks become absolutely awesome. There's end-of-level bad guys where you all have to work together to take on this character. And you would pause the game and bring up a menu to perform various spells and various attacks. It was just, for the time, it was revolutionary as a game, and it was just such a social brilliant experience playing that game together with your friends. And it's become so successful and so well known that it has been re-released several times, even on Mac iOS, and you can get it on phones for Android now as well. Obviously, I don't think you can play it with 4 people at the same time, but it's still just a classic game.
At number 4, I have picked Sonic the Hedgehog. In 1991, Sega were desperate for a mascot to rival Nintendo's Mario, and a blue hedgehog named Sonic was born. What set Sonic apart from other platformers for me was the speed of it.
Absolutely. I don't know about you, Stu, but the first time I played Sonic and you were just racing along, I was just like, whoa, this is amazing, brilliant.
Yeah, especially when you're running through the levels with the Turbo Shoe power-up.
Oh, it's just fantastic. I still think today there's not enough platform games that are this speed.
There was also the challenge, of course, of collecting 100 rings during each level to open the ridiculously tricky bonus worlds.
Did you ever manage it?
What, the bonus worlds?
Yeah.
Not all of them, no.
I don't think I did, as far as I remember.
I'm not even sure which bonus worlds are harder. The ones that span round and you were inside, like, the box, or the ones where you're running around a globe and you have to turn the red balls blue.
Oh, I do remember playing 1 or 2 of those, actually. They were really difficult.
So, yeah, number 4, Sonic the Hedgehog. Number 3, Dave?
Number 3 is... let me see. Number 3 has to be Grand Theft Auto. And I don't know how to say it. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Again, I struggled to decide which one of these games to put in. Would it be Grand Theft Auto 3, the first 3D version of Grand Theft Auto? Which should it be going back to original? This should be the very first Grand Theft Auto game, the top-down game where you basically just had to steal cars, mug people for money, perform missions. But I came down to it had to be Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. For me, this was just the most fun Grand Theft Auto made yet. The fact that you played one character, all the different choices you could make in this game. Now, obviously, this was the game where you started off just a normal backstreet gangster, struggling to make a few dollars. You were using a bike to run around the street, and gradually you move up, becoming a gang boss. You end up fighting turf wars. At any point in the game, you would have to run back and help your homies defend your turf from another gang. Eventually, you take over that whole area. You open up different huge areas of the map. You can take your character to a gym to exercise and just make him look all buff. Or you can go to you can take him to fast food restaurants and eat until you're sick and you become fat. You can go to the airport and steal the planes to get around. You can steal police cars. You can steal fire engines and go and do these fire engine missions. You can steal a Pizza Hut motorbike and go and deliver pizzas for an hour, which is what I did one night. Just the possibilities in this game are just phenomenal. It's Sopranos for video game, it's Goodfellas for video game, it's Boys in the Hood for video game. Even towards the end of the game, the fact that you end up owning your own airport. And I believe, if I remember correctly, you can even steal the UFO from Area 51. You can drive to the top of the mountain, put a parachute on your back, jump off the mountain on a motorbike and do a base jump. The amount of things you can do in this game are just phenomenal, and obviously it's a really violent game. That's why it's for adults only. That's why it's an 18 rating in this country. But this game, just like almost every other Grand Theft Auto game before it, was amazing. But San Andreas took it to another level of fun.
Now, on the other end of the scale is number 2. And for me, this is the greatest video game ever released. It is, of course, Super Mario 64. Now, little did I know, Dave, that when I plugged this cartridge into my Nintendo 64 in 1996, that I would be playing the greatest video game of all time on the aforementioned greatest console ever made. The N64 was the first machine to introduce a rumble feature to its controllers, as well as one of the first to have an analog stick in the centre of its awesome controller. Mario 64 was the game that came bundled with the N64, and it was of course the Italian plumber's first soiree into the world of 3D. Everything about this game rocks, right? From the open world playability to the vast array of jumps and moves that you can learn as you go on, doing the little breakdance spins, the triple jump, the long jump, the side jump. Oh, this game is just amazing, right? The game is also challenging without being too difficult or overtly easy. It's not hard, it's not easy, it takes some doing.
You know, I have to confess, I've never actually played this game.
You've never played Mario 64?
No, I've played various versions of Mario, but I've never actually played Mario 64.
Right. As a player of this game, Dave, you would spend countless hours collecting stars and trying to figure out the secrets of each world based on the clues given in the level's title. It's been 20 years since this game was released, and as you know, I got an N64 with Mario 64 for Father's Day a week ago, and I've been playing it non-stop since then and loving every second.
Yeah, I do remember you saying, but didn't you also say that your kids started to play it and what was it they said about this?
They said it was too hard.
Yeah, I think that says something about the games kids play today.
Yeah, this game, I cannot tell you how much I love this game. It is just the greatest video game ever made. Period. But with that said, what is your number 1?
My number 1, it has to be very simply Pac-Man.
Okay.
Now, the simplicity of Pac-Man also, you have a little orange circle with a little wedge cut out of it. You're running around a little maze, eating dots, being chased by a ghost. If the ghosts catch you, they eat you. But every so often the tables are turned, and just for a few seconds, you can eat the ghosts. It's just so simple, and there are so few other games that you can go onto Google, type in Pac-Man, and there you go on Google. You can have a go. You can just play Pac-Man. You know, there's countless simple games like this, which I think will live on in video game dub forever. You know, Pac-Man, Tetris, Space Invaders. They're so simple, yet they're so addictive and playable. And for me, Pac-Man, I first played. I can't remember when I first played this. It was in arcades all the time. It came out, I believe, the first time in 1980. I'm not sure when I first would have played it. I would imagine it would have been sometime in the early 80s. But I remember having a very small portable games machine, which just had a little joystick, and that's it. And I would sit there and I would play Pac-Man again and again and again. I still don't know exactly what this little handheld console was. It was very similar to...
Probably an Atari of some kind.
It was a little Atari. It was on this little thing, you could just play Pac-Man. It was like a home version of Pac-Man, basically. So this must have been in the mid-80s when Pac-Man had been out in a while. But before that, I also remember going to, regularly, Stroud Leisure Centre every so often on a weekend. And any time we had finished, I'd rush upstairs with my 10-pence coin and I would put it in and I would play Pac-Man. Space Invaders was next to it. I played Space Invaders every so often, but I'd also play Pac-Man. And there was just nothing to it. Just put about 10p in, play it again and again. I could always get through the first level. The second one, it gets a bit more tricky, doesn't it? And plus I was only a little kid, let's face it. But yeah, simply for me, Pac-Man, the most amazing game ever made. You know, give me Call of Duty, give me Grand Theft Auto, that's fine, but give me Pac-Man, I'll sit there happy for hours.
Now, we have of course missed off loads of games, like the other Grand Theft Autos, Donkey Kong, the original Donkey Kong where Mario first appeared, the original Mario Brothers, but that was, for what it's worth, the World of Stew top 10 video games of all time. Now, Dave, before we move to your week of Geek, just to prove that we do this show, we record it live, obviously, I can bring you the most up-to-date news going.
Ooh, what's that?
England 1, Iceland 2.
Who scored?
Rooney scored from the penalty spot in 4 minutes, and 2 Icelandic players, who I'm not going to try and pronounce their names, have scored since.
Oh, they have?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So we are now losing.
That's not good, is it? That's not good at all.
No, but yeah, I blame Brexit.
Yeah, absolutely.
This week of Geek. This Geeky Week. This week of Geek. This week of Geek. So Dave, what is in your week of Geek?
Okay, week of Geek. It's fairly packed, so I'm going to try and go through it as quick as I can. Batman Rebirth and Batman #1. Now, I wanted to try and do these two together, okay? Obviously, with the big whole Batman Rebirth event, we've had kind of 2 Batman #1s within a month of each other.
Yeah.
Batman Rebirth #1 basically tells the story of Batman and a villain known as the Calendar Man, and you see all sorts of stuff with Batman. You see him meeting with Lucius Fox. You see him recruiting Duke Thomas, who is also a Robin. But for me, this issue is just kind of missing something. I expected something bigger, something better of a Batman Rebirth issue. I just don't. This just feels like another Batman issue. It could be Batman issue number 53 from the new 52 Batman. There's nothing to distinguish this from the ongoing series. So, despite being a perfectly good issue, it's written by both Scott Snyder and Tom King. Yet I don't really feel like Tom King's gone to grips with Batman yet, but let's face it, it's his first issue. But the art's pretty good. I just don't feel like it's anything special, I'm afraid. But then we move on quickly to Batman #1, also written by Tom King. This is, again, just a bit of an average issue. I don't feel like it's... Maybe it's just me expecting something bigger from the Rebirth story. You see the introduction of a pretty big character at the end. But, I don't know, I feel like Batman needs a new direction going forward. So
how can Batman have a new direction? He's pretty one-dimensional.
he is pretty one-dimensional, but also just one big niggle for me is there's already too much mention of the sidekicks. I think I mentioned this last week in Detective Comics number 934, whatever it was. Yeah, there's just too much mention of sidekicks. I just want Batman to be Batman. So I'll see how this goes on, but I feel like the Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo Batman has just been so brilliant and so perfect that topping it is just going to be difficult. But anyway, move on to Marvel now. Marvel's big event, of course, Civil War number 2. In issue number 1, we saw the introduction of Ulysses, who can predict the future. And obviously Tony Stark is the only guy who can look at this and go, hey, so he predicted something really bad. You stopped it. It hasn't happened. Am I the only one that's seeing a problem here, guys? But obviously issue number 1 finished with the death of James Rhodes, War Machine, and the near death of She-Hulk. So issue number 2, Tony does what Tony does best. He kidnaps this guy who can see the future. It's a very talky issue, this one. Again, the art is absolutely fantastic. The art of David Marquez, very quickly. Marvel, keep hold of this guy. Absolutely beautiful. But you end up with a big, clunging Ulysses yet again going, oh, guys, I'm sorry, I've just had a prediction of the future. The Hulk is going to kill you all. And this is like, oh, okay, great, the Hulk is going to curse all. Now, when he says the Hulk, he means the Hulk, Bruce Banner. Now, in this Marvel universe at the moment, as far as I know, I lost track of the totally awesome Hulk, about Amadeus Cho being the Hulk, so I'm not sure what's going on there. But from what I've heard, Bruce Banner thinks he's cured of being the Hulk. He hasn't had a Hulk event for a long time, and yet right at the end of this issue, what should happen? Captain Marvel, having heard this prediction of the future, turns up and just is standing there in front of Bruce, waiting to have a word. So I think issue number 3, it's all going to kick off. Apparently a major character will die, so take your picks, people. Who do you think it's going to be?
Who do you think it's going to be?
I think it's going to be the Hulk.
No, they can't kill Bruce Banner, man.
I think it's going to be Bruce Banner or Amadeus Cho as the Hulk. I'd be very... they said it's a major character. It has to be a major character. I think Iron Man, possibly. I don't know. That would be a pretty big kind of hey, you killed Tony Stark. That would be huge, let's face it.
Okay, well, we will wait and see on that one.
We will. But going alongside with this, there's also been a couple of the little issues we've gone through there. Civil War 2 X-Men was okay. Yeah, the X-Men are choosing sides as well. They haven't rolled it with Civil War. Personally, I'd prefer to see the X-Men being involved in the major Civil War more instead of the Inhumans. But I understand it's Marvel trying to push the Inhumans down our throat again. Also, there's Civil War 2 choosing sides. For me, I bought this. It's little adventures of little characters. It's got some Night Thrasher character from the New Warriors back in the 90s somewhere. It's got the story of Nick Fury, but that's Nick Fury Jr. So he's the one that looks like Samuel L. Jackson, not the old one, but with the eye patch and the cigar, and who looks a bit like Pierce Brosnan, maybe George Clooney. But it looks like this story could go a good way because there's some bad guy that's hidden and that's trying to move things. But I'm not going to waste my time with it. I'm not going to buy it. I'm afraid it's just not good. Not good at all.
Okay, anything else in your week of Geek?
Yeah, just very quickly, I picked up Deadpool vs. Gambit number 1. It was just average, I'm afraid. I really want to read a good Gambit story. It hasn't been in the comics for ages, but this was again really average and a bit confusing and just difficult to follow. But finally, I bought a book. Now I know we don't normally talk about books in Week of Geek when World of Stew much at all, but I bought probably what is going to be the very last Terry Pratchett book. Sir Terry Pratchett having died tragically last year. but this is The Long Cosmos by Stephen Baxter and Terry Pratchett. It's the last in the series. I've read them all so far. A very simple sci-fi premise. Someone way back in the, I think it was like 2018 in the stories, creates a little box with a switch, east and west. Every time you flick the switch, you go into a parallel Earth, and they call it stepping. In every single parallel Earth, millions upon billions of them, there's no humans. There's no human life in any of the other Earths. There's different kinds of cows, with different kinds of dogs, sheep, kangaroos, all sorts of stuff. There's different kind of weathers. There's Earths in ice ages. There's Earths where volcanoes have gone off. There's Earths where giant asteroids have hit them and the Earth is just not even there. But this has just been such an awesome series of books, and it kind of breaks my heart that this is going to be the last Sir Terry Pratchett book I ever read, last new Sir Terry Pratchett book I ever read. So I'm just really looking forward to reading it. I'm going to read it and just cherish it, I think.
Well, until they find transcripts that he wrote before his death, and then they release them in a few years.
Who knows? There might be a few, but I believe there's well and truly over 35 to 40 Discworld books. I believe up until when he died, Sir Terry was Britain's best-selling living author, which is no mean feat. But his daughter has apparently said that she is not going to let anyone else publish or write new Discworld books. So fingers crossed, there's not going to be any more Discworld books. But he's going to be. Let's say Sir Terry. He's still missed. And that was my week of Geek. I'm sure there's probably something I've missed. I'm sure there's probably some film. Obviously I should have watched Knock Knock if I haven't yet. And I probably shouldn't have watched Age of Extinction again. But there you go.
So that brings us to the end of another episode of World of Stew. You can check us out, as I said before, on our website, which is silentmovieman.wix.com/World of Stew. You can also check us out on our Facebook page. Just go to Facebook and look up World of Stew. You can't miss it. And also the World of Stew YouTube channel, where all of our episodes go up and you can listen to them there. Just don't confuse it with the Wonderful World of Stew, because that's a completely different channel. You can also find out about us and other podcasts on pancast.co.uk, which is where we are part of the Pancast Productions Network. And we are also part of the Sobel Nation, which you can find on Movie Utopia by going to broadwayutopia.fm and clicking on the various links. We are on at 9 PM Eastern Standard Time in America, or Trumpland as we're now calling it, because quite frighteningly he may win that election. So it just leaves me enough time to discuss this week's closing song, Dave.
Oh, is it going to be a Ghostbusters song?
It's not going to be the Ghostbusters song, and it's also not going to be the original Ghostbusters tune, because we played that a few weeks ago.
Oh yes, so we did as well.
Right, so I've decided that this week we are going to close the show with the theme tune to Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Yay!
Right. The song was called Go Go Power Rangers and was written by a gentleman by the name of Ron Wasserman.
I wonder what else he did.
I have no idea. I will Google it and let you know next week.
Cool.
So we're going to close with the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers theme tune, Go Go Power Rangers. Just leaves me enough time to say thank you very much for everyone who's listening, and thank you very much, Dave.
Always fun, always welcome.
And until next week, keep it geek.